Hello, welcome to Sheepdog Says. I'm Sheepdog and I'm feeling a lot better today. Slight dizziness still, but I'm with it. I'm focusing. With Eurovision at the weekend, there was an interesting thing that developed on Twitter where people were talking about the worst gigs I've ever been to and the best gigs I've ever been to. And it made me think about all the different ones I've been to, the stories that come out of them and that kind of thing. I'm sure I've told some in the past. I know I've told the story in the past of being at Reading Festival when Metallica were playing. And the guy's on stage, he's doing his build up, he's talking, he's twiddling around with his guitar, and I, being an idiot, just went, "Get on with it!" And mid sentence, he just went, "Boing," and just looked around the crowd. It's like a scene out of The Simpsons. It took his complete train of thought away, and he just looked around like, "Who said that?" I ducked a bit because I thought he's quite a hard-looking man. I don't want to upset him. Didn't speak again except for singing along to the awesome songs that Metallica played. The funniest thing happened at the end of that gig. He did this whole thing of, we've got an announcement to make, we're going to do a gig, it's going to be in December, it's going to be in London, be there, or, if you're a fan, you've got to be there and all this. And me and my mate were jokingly going, we'll be there, we're going to be there, we'll meet you there, we'll see you inside. And then we forgot about it. And the day of the gig, my sister messaged me going, "My mate's just got me tickets to Metallica." And I was like, "Where the hell are mine?" And was all outraged with her. And jokingly outraged, to be honest. But she texts back, "Well, there are more in the envelope if you want them." So I text my friend and says, "Remember that gig we told Metallica would be at, jokingly, when we were in the crowd and they were on stage at Reading? Well, I've got 2 tickets for it if you want to come." And he basically ghosted into my living room as though he just read the text and appeared. And that night we went. It's probably one of the best gigs of all time. I was right near the front. When the flames went up, I could feel it felt like my face was burning. I was that close. The only way we could have got any closer was if we climbed on stage, basically. We were just next to it. It was fantastic. I've never been that close to a massive, massive gig before, with that kind of crowd to it. My wife did get me tickets to one of the intimate gigs at the Barfly where Coheed and Cambria played. I know I spoke about that on the video before because that was the gig where I shouted out, "Play whatever song it was," and they went off stage for 5 minutes to research the fact that their song had been leaked on the internet and they didn't know yet. And someone mentioned it to me like 6 months later that they were at this gig and some idiot shouted out the name of an unreleased track and it derailed their show. I don't normally derail shows. That's the only 2 times it's happened. That one was a bit longer than the previous, but again, I was right in front of them at this point. I was so close, I got given earplugs to protect me because basically I was standing next to the massive thing that was supposed to fill the room with sound. But those 2, I'd say, are definitely up there as the 2 best gigs ever. I wanted to go into worst gigs because I think they're more entertaining. There's actually a much longer list. When I was writing it out, I was like, I've been to many, many, many gigs. I've seen many bands live, including festivals and so forth. But the worst one I paid money to go and see, and it's made even worse by time and the crimes that their lead singer ended up committing. But I saw Lost Prophets live at Hammersmith, and it was, honest to God, the worst sound, the worst performance. It was so terrible. Obviously, he turned out to be an absolute criminal afterwards as well. They played Reading Festival and they were much better there. They split the crowd in half and they made everyone clash with each other in a big, epic Lord of the Rings battle type thing. Again, if it didn't turn out the lead singer was so evil, I'd have put that out there as one of the coolest experiences, which it still was. But yeah, you can't really. It was a bit cringy looking back now, thinking that he was actually a monster. Reading Festival had a few funny shows where the bands just didn't deliver. It might have been their schedule, it might have been the fact they were jet lagged, it might have been that they had to go Reading Leeds, a really quick turnaround. But I remember one of my favourite bands was AFI. And I'd seen them live a few times, but I saw them at Reading Festival. They came out slightly late. They played a set of maybe, I want to say like 5, 6 songs, if that. And then they went off. And it wasn't the end of their set. And a friend of mine was further in the crowd, and he said the guy next to him was like, "All right, we get it. You're just going to come back on stage and play an extra couple of songs, and then you're going to go. It's every band's trying to do it. It's not cool. Just come back on and do your set." They didn't. They just went home. They were like, "Good night. See you later. Bye." And I remember just being really disappointed. I was there in my like AFI hoodie, boiling hot day, just sort of getting ready to see him play, and they just let us down. They were it was a bit disappointing. I wasn't a fan of the Rasmus. No one's a fan of the Rasmus, but I remember them playing. They they said something like, "We're not going to play the song that you think is the only song we have. We're going to play other songs because we're a band, damn it." Because everyone was just telling them to play the song they knew. And so they tried to play one song. Everyone in the crowd booed. They then said, "Okay, we'll play the song you want us to play." Everyone just booed through that because they were so up themselves. And then they just left the stage as well. I remember 50 Cent tried to play as well. That was awful. I was handing bottles out during that show because I was offended about the fact that he was their headline gig at a primarily rock festival. Some idiot threw like a metal chair at him that he didn't enjoy. I thought that was a bit far, but again, I can say I saw 50 Cent play. That was really cool. One of the worst gig experiences I had, I went to Milton Keynes to see Bon Jovi play. And Bon Jovi were all right. I knew someone growing up at college who was a massive fan. So I always think they're a little bit lame and a little bit irritating because he was so obsessed with them that you wouldn't be able to go a conversation without him mentioning Bon Jovi or something that Bon Jovi would have liked, or the band were called Bon Jovi, not the singer. He's named something else, and all this nonsense, all these stupid facts. Did you know he has a PhD and whatever? And you'd be like, I don't care. I really don't care. I'm not interested in this band as much as you are. I thought that, well, I can't remember what it's called, Crossroads, the album that's like a compilation. I just assumed that was an album. I'm not that interested in Bon Jovi. They have an album of good songs is what I thought. Turns out that's a compilation. Anyway, my wife and I got tickets somehow from friends maybe to go see them play at the Milton Keynes Bowl, and as if that wasn't going to be slightly lame enough, they were supported by Nickelback of all bands, which no one in the crowd wanted. I remember it being really, really awkward because they were playing and everyone's just kind of like... But I was happy to be seeing Bon Jovi play because I thought they're a massive, massive band. They are very, very, very wealthy and famous, and I was still happy, even though we were miles back and we were on like this embankment from like, I don't know how many meters away. It was a long distance. You could barely make them out on stage. But then it was ruined because there was this tubby middle-aged woman next to us in all denim, which is a bad sign in itself. I suppose it's a rock festival, so it's not that rare. But she basically sang every song at the top of her voice. So whilst we could just about hear them sing, we could hear her sing a lot more because she was right next to us. And she was getting drunker and drunker and drunker through the night. And we just kept trying to hint that she should just shut the hell up or walk much closer to the stage so that we couldn't hear her sing. But she was having none of it. And I think that the tickets to that were really expensive. I'm talking like... Most gigs cost 15, 20 quid. These were sort of over 50, I think. So yeah, that was a bad experience, definitely. One of my favourite bands growing up was The Offspring, and I remember going to their Splinter tour, and I'm sure I've told this before, I must have done, but at the end they threw out the drummer threw out his drumsticks, and I reached out and I caught them in my hand, but the force of them hitting my hand meant that one of them snapped, a wedge of wood went under my thumbnail. Some knobhead next to me grabbed the drumsticks and ran off into the distance, and all I had was this massive splinter sticking out of my thumb. And as I'm leaving and I'm in agony and I'm like trying to get it out of my finger, my mate's going to me, "Well, it is the Splinter tour," and all, trying to ham it up and be funny. I kept that for ages. I had my splinter from the Splinter tour, but I don't know where it is now. It was a tiny fragment of wood, but man, my thumb hurt. It was like I used to have like this little triangle scar there for ages. It's kind of gone now under the nail, but I don't think it's a good job it wasn't called like the Whiplash tour or something. And I just come out with a broken neck, or I don't know. Yeah, there's loads of options. I'm not going to go through every disease in the world. If it had a more dangerous name, I might have been screwed. I'm trying to think what else I've seen that was bad. I've got some not embarrassing ones, but like one of the first gigs I ever saw live, we took my mate's brother to see Good Charlotte, and that was better than you'd think. But some woman in the crowd flicked her hair back and sweat went everywhere, and everyone was so furious with her. And I remember just throwing a bottle of water at her because I was so annoyed that she'd just like covered everyone in a gross sweat. I suppose again that's quite normal for gigs, but it was vile. I haven't been to a gig in ages. I really want to see another band live, but I don't know who I'd want to see. I've seen all the bands that I liked growing up. I'm trying to think of all the big current bands or like bands that everyone's heard of now. Like I've seen Muse live. I've never seen Foo Fighters live, but I'm not that big of a Foo Fighters fan. I've never seen Biffy Clyro live, even though a lot of people are big fans of them. I'm not a massive fan of them really either. most of the music I've started listening to now is quite old music, and I'm just trying to think of anyone I'd want to see live. There isn't really anyone at the moment. They're all kind of, I just listen to a lot of Radio X, so whatever they play, I'd probably want to see if they were on. I considered seeing if I could get tickets, win tickets. They were doing an intimate Noel Gallagher gig the other day, today, sorry, and there was a Liam Gallagher one a couple of months back, and I tried to enter both of them, but I thought to myself, I'd never get down there in time to see it or whatever. I wouldn't miss work or get a babysitter for it, so I'm not that bothered. I really don't know who else I'd want to see though. I'd seen Coheed and Cambria play so many times that even seeing them play is kind of like meh now, because I've seen him probably 12 times, if not more. I don't even know whether AFI have brought an album out in recent times. Looking down my list, I think, almost awkwardly embarrassed to say, the last 2 gigs I remember going to was taking my wife to see, I keep getting this wrong way around, Gary Barlow, not Barry Garlow, like I always call him, and Michael Bublé, Mickey Bubbles. Both of them were anniversary or birthday presents for my wife. I was a genius with the Barry Garlow one. It was Mickey Bubbles. I saw that he had a show out, and I thought, I must be able to get tickets off of like a second-hand salesman type thing. And just as I was looking, literally I started looking at, let's say it was like 5 o'clock at night, and at 4:59 he'd announced he was doing a practice show in Sheffield the Friday coming, before he started his world tour in the UK and whatever else. And I literally just went on this website, bought tickets. My wife came home and I was like, guess what I've got you tickets for? Friday night, we're going to Sheffield. And she thought it was amazing. And it was a fun gig. There's so many, it's just rammed with middle-aged mums, as you can imagine. Lots of horrific jokes about sitting on Gary's face and stuff like that. It was still fun though. I knew a lot more of the songs than I'd probably want to admit, but I feel like I've hit that dad era now where that's the extent of what I've been doing. I haven't looked at festival lineups in a while. I just don't know. I don't think there's any bands out there at the moment where I'd be like, oh, I'm a big fan of them or whatever. Even at the moment, the only band I've liked growing up that started releasing music recently and surprised me that they're still quite good is the Manic Street Preachers. And my wife hates them, so I'm screwed with that. But I don't know. Let me know what good bands are playing this year. Let me know what bands people like at the moment, because I feel like I need to refresh my Spotify playlist. All of the songs I've added most recently have either been Radio X songs of the week, or they've been like songs that came out in the late 80s, early 90s, or songs I remember exist from like my college days. I need new music really, but all the bands that I know of that are still releasing music, I'm not really a fan of. Like I say, the Foo Fighters and people like that. They're okay. They've got a few good songs, but nah. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. I'm not saying any of these bands are bad. Don't take offence, because I'm not going to argue with someone about the Foo Fighters. I'm not going to argue with someone about tasty music. But I want to know what you guys like. I want some recommendations, bands I should check out that I won't have heard of. If I haven't heard of them and they're good, then you get 10 Sheepdog points. If I've heard of them and they're bad, you lose 10 Sheepdog points. We'll see who ends up owing me Sheepdog points. That's all I've got to say on the matter. So hit subscribe, like, comment, the bell thing that my daughter keeps mentioning, and go back and comment on. No one answered our question about favourite shows and favourite films. I think other than Shaz did. Thanks, Shaz. But yeah, other people do that too. See you later.